It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to the Media Equality Project's Megan Barth about Christine Blasey Ford and her accusations about Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. At that time, we still didn't know. We thought she was going to testify on Monday. Now she's not going to testify, but then maybe there's a possibility that she still does testify. No one knows. As I talked to Megan Barth yesterday, this is what it sounded like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. Welcome back to the program. Hey, welcome for the first time on the program. We have a special guest. We've got Megan Barth is on the line. Megan, welcome to Conduit News.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being on for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are with the organization that we're familiar with here, the Media Equality Project. That's the MediaEqualizer.com. And I've read some of your stuff before, and I really, really enjoy it. I wanted to have you on this morning. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with this Brett Kavanaugh situation. I know the current news is that they're going to delay the vote in the Judiciary Committee that was scheduled for this Thursday, and instead there's going to be a testimony coming up on Monday, I believe. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and the story is developing, and it keeps changing, much like the story being told by the accuser. And there's so many holes in her story from 35 years ago, and a story that she said she remembered in a therapy session in 2012. She doesn't remember really the time, the place, or much surrounding the events, but she can be sure that when she was 15 years old, Judge Kavanaugh, when he was 17, nearly killed her. That was her statement, that she felt as though she were going to be inadvertently killed, yet she can't remember, again, many of the surrounding circumstances to that attempted murder. We also can't seem to nail down the accuser, Dr. Ford, and I use Dr. loosely, but Dr. Ford, because she hasn't committed to a time or even responded to Chuck Grassley's calls as to when she will provide sworn testimony to the committee. And so, again, we have to look at not only the accuser and her statement that she chose to come forward after remaining anonymous, much like Dianne Feinstein chose to sit on her anonymous statement for at least 2 months. And then, of course, at the 11th hour, they pull a voila, Clarence Thomas, 11th hour weaponized sexual allegation against another judicial nominee. And so this really is smelling much like the progressive playbook of the politics of personal destruction.
Yeah, you are exactly right. And, you know, we're kind of seeing a world where, you know, you can make any allegation that you want out there, and, you know, then that basically is, according to the left, that's all we need to hear. You know, you've made the allegation. Of course, you know, you mentioned Clarence Thomas. I'm looking at an article right now where you've got the ABC News chief political analyst, Matthew Dowd, in a tweet referring to Clarence Thomas as a sexual predator. And so, I mean, you know, it's not only potential Supreme Court justices, they're now going after sitting Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, if the left didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. And I actually retweeted and responded to Matthew Dowd yesterday when he basically said, you know, we've believed men for so long, now it's our turn to simply believe women. Well, what about the Keith Ellison's accusers? Two accusers who came on the record in front of a camera with police reports filed, substantiated evidence like text messages as well as videos and police reports. And yet those accusers are continually ignored by the left and the feminist activists on the left. Why? Because a powerful Democrat man is caught in the Me Too crosshairs. You know, there are obviously two systems of justice. Some accusers should be believed if they're women. Some accusers should be ignored. And this is the problem. The problem is that the Me Too movement now has been weaponized as a political tool of the left. What might have started as a good movement in order to expose the amount of sexual harassment in Hollywood, including pedophilia, has now taken a back seat believe some accusers, and then other accusers will simply be ignored. And let me expound on that if I could. When women are just automatically to be believed, then what about a man's right to due process? And see, this is how they have turned, the left has turned justice upon its head. Social justice is not justice, it's weaponized justice. And we've seen weaponized justice when all women should be believed, whether it was on the campus of Duke, when Crystal Mangum came forward with the false allegations of the lacrosse team raping her. Well, then the lacrosse team was publicly excoriated, defamed, libeled, and their lives ruined for many years until she was found out to be an absolute fraud and a liar. And then we go over to the campus of University of Virginia, whereby a Jane Doe came forward to Rolling Stone magazine and said that an entire fraternity had gang raped her. Well, guess what? After the fraternity was nearly destroyed and the men's lives destroyed, she turned out to be a liar. Then let's go over to the campus of Columbia University, shall we? Where another feminist martyr decided to walk around campus with a mattress on her back and said that one of her former boyfriends on campus had raped her. She turned out to be a liar. And so that is why due process is so incredibly important in this entire charade that the Democrats, if they aren't going to destroy the Fourth Amendment, they sure as hell are going to destroy the First and Second.
We're talking with Megan Barth from MediaEqualizer.com. You should check out that website and check out her articles there. I'm actually reading a piece right now, that's mentioning that, this nominee here, Brett Kavanaugh, he's vehemently denied the allegations, said he was never at the party in question. So, what do you see the end game? What's the end game going to be, Megan? I mean, how does the accuser here have proof? Is Kavanaugh going to have proof? I mean, at what point is the left going to even be satisfied here to where there could be a vote to take place?
The left will never be satisfied until their political opponents are destroyed, and if that means destroying due process along with it, well, then that's just a consequence of their lust for power. Here's what the attorney for Dr. Ford says, that her client has absolutely no responsibility to provide any sort of corroborating evidence to back up her allegations. Okay, well, that's something new to me. So I guess it's up to some investigator that wants to pick this up and try to find clues and witnesses from 35 years ago. It's an absolute farce, and it's a circus, much like the Democrats tried to portray during the confirmation hearings. We know, according to their own words and admittance by Dick Durbin and Chuck Schumer, that they were on the horn with their Democrat activists and the handmaiden the weekend before the confirmation hearings started, and then organized the circus chaos within the halls of the Judiciary Committee during the nominations, and that's when we were hearing the shrieking misandrists in the background screaming about Roe v. Wade and everything else. And so this is the circus that the Democrats want. The Democrats always have the political theater of chaos, because chaos is the best weapon that they have in order to create the most dependency and the most fear. They can't debate the issues. They don't want to talk about the nominees' qualifications. They simply just want to drudge up things from 35 years ago and hope that the political smear campaign will win the day.
What happens if they successfully, torpedo this nomination? I mean, I know the president says that that's not going to happen. They're going to take a little bit more time.
No.
But if they were to succeed, doesn't that make the midterm elections that more important to turn out and make sure the MAGA agenda continues?
Well, yes, and I really do think that these latest desperate attempts by Dianne Feinstein are going to backfire, and I do hope that it really does tick people off, because anger is a motivating factor to get people off their butts into the polls. And we need to make sure that there is a red wave during this midterm election, not like past midterms where the minority party seems to gain more control and power as far as a quote-unquote balance mechanism. The Democrats are unbalanced. It is evident in what they have been doing with all of these procedural tricks, and especially now that Donald Trump has unmasked many of them by redacting, or unredacting rather, the FISA documents. I think there's going to be more and more that come out exposing the Democrats for the seditious conspirators that they are. I don't think that the Kavanaugh nomination is going to fail. Because even Corker, who was having cold feet from Tennessee, Bob Corker, was having cold feet yesterday. Today he realized, well, geez, my gosh, if they can do this to Kavanaugh using an allegation from 35 years ago, no man is safe. And he's exactly right. We have the majority in the Senate. We should exercise it, and he should be nominated and confirmed.
Yeah,
or should be confirmed.
I agree. You've got to get to that point because, like you said, I mean, if it were to fail and they nominated someone else, the Democrats would just do this again. It's very clear they don't want President Donald Trump to put another conservative on the court. And I think that also has to do with a little bit. They know Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is she's old. I mean, let's just say it, and she's not going to be on the court forever. And there's a good chance that President Trump is going to get to nominate 3 Supreme Court justices.
Well, and if he has 2 terms, possibly 4. I mean, we're looking at octogenarians or very close to that are seated on the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I think, is 85, and she's actually on record, I think with PBS or another news outlet, saying that she was pretty much disgusted by this process because at the time that she was confirmed, the process was based upon her qualifications. She even referred to this, if she had a magic wand, she would change the tone and tenor of these hearings that she was witness to. And as I was watching that interview, which didn't get much play because she is the darling of the left, but they don't want to talk about this interview because she's actually criticizing the left, she could hardly hold her head up. She looked very frail. And I believe that she, too, could retire soon. And then, of course, we would have the majority, a permanent majority on the Supreme Court that would shape a generation of federalists and originalist interpretation of the Constitution and not some progressive interpretation of the Constitution as a living document.
Megan Barth, I appreciate it so much. Folks, she's the co-chair of the Media Equality Project. Find out more at MediaEqualizer.com. You can also follow her on Twitter at ReaganBabe. Megan, I hope you have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Folks, we're going to go to break. Back in just a moment.